Okay, people, let's just go back over what I just set out in workshop 2. We're taking the English problem here and we're turning it into a maths. So I know my graph is going to be a sine graph. So I'll just start with that. No, it's going to be sine. So I need to now start transforming my sine graph according to the clues in my question. So the clues in my question tell me that it goes up and down from 2.4 meters all the way down to 0.4 meters. So if I subtract those 2.4 meters, take away 0.4 meters, I'm going to get 2 meters. So I'm going to go back to my graph. So I know my amplitude now is 2 meters divided by 2. Okay, so I'm going to put them out the front just to show exactly which bits go where. So there's my 2 meters up and down, but I'm going to divide that by 2 to find the middle of my graph. All right, let's go back and see what other information I've got. So I want to find the middle of my graph. How far up the y-axis do I need to shift it? Okay, so it needs to go all the way up to 2.4 meters, down to 0.4 meters. So I'm going to add my 1 meter amplitude onto my 0.4 meters bottom of my graph. 1 plus 0.4 gives me 1.4. So go back to my graph. I'm going to have to add on 1.4 because that's what my middle line has to be at. Okay, there it is, 1.4. So the height of my graph is all the way up to 2.4 meters, that's high tide, and falls down to 0.4 meters at low tide. So there's my values there in the right place, but we have a bit more information. We don't go across in terms of pi, we go across in terms of hours. So I'm going to need to change that somehow. So I need to go from 7:30 to 1:30. That's 6 hours. I'm going to change that to 7.5 to 13.5 just to keep it straight for my mind that is those hours I need. So 7.5 take away from 13.5 is 6 hours. So that's half my wavelength from the top to the bottom. But I want to go back to the top again to get a full wavelength. So that's going to be 12 hours. So back to my graph. I put 2 pi in here to get rid of the 2 pi from my graph. And I'm going to put this over. Ooh, it's going to go in the wrong place. So I might just get rid of that for the moment until I can fool my graph into doing what I need it to do over 12 because it needs, oops, okay, that's obviously dividing the whole thing by 12. So let's put some brackets in. Divide that by 12. There we go, that's much better. And I close my brackets there. So let's put my wavelength back in, 2 divided by 2. Okay, so it takes now, let's see, high tide in this particular one is at 3 o'clock. And it goes all the way through to 15 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we've got a nice 12-hour high tide period going on there. It takes 3 down to 9. It takes 6 hours from high tide to low tide. But that's not what my question asks me to do. It doesn't want high tide at 3 o'clock. It wants high tide at 7:30. So I'm going to have to add in here somewhere. So I'm going to have to add in there. Let's try adding in 4.5 because I want that to go across 4.5 places. So let's see if that's going to be as simple as that or if I'm going to have to do a little bit of trickery to make that happen. So let's try adding in 4.5 and see what happens there. Okay, so on my graph now, my high tide is at 10:30. Okay, so that's definitely not worked. So I'm going to change that to a subtract and see if that works. So now my graph There we go. 7:30 high tide, all the way down to 13 and a half, 1:30 low tide. So there now is the graph I want. High tide at 7:30, low tide at 1:30. That's what I've been asked to do. Now I have managed to do it. Awesome. Okay, let me finish that off by saying catch you next time.